for this group, it's going to be PowerShell focused.
PowerShell, of course.
Windows sysadmin, Azure stuff.
Okay.
That's probably what most of this group
Feels around there. Okay. And we do see those, positions out all the time. And what I would say with that is, just so we don't dive in, spend forever. We can individually talk about that, find out like rate, location, where you live, and all that stuff. Because what I don't want to do, and what a lot of recruiters do, is they match a few keywords on a resume, and then they just start sending you job descriptions. Not really what I want to be about. It's like, hey, so when I show you a role, I know it's relevant, because that's what Tek Systems is trying to build around. Because you guys probably get a lot of recruiters calling you all the time, and we know that. So it's like try and separate ourselves.
Send that stuff to you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, so I'm Brad Willett. I'll be taking over for Nick Aldini. I've been a recruiter here for about a year. I graduated last May from ASU, so that's where I'm at. And basically, as far as I go, anything I can do to kind of help you guys, and it doesn't even have to be for like you guys. We're experts in resumes, or you want to know what's just going on in the market, you can reach out to me. You have a cousin, or you have resume advice or questions you want, we can send it, or you can send it to me, and I can go through and look at it. We can make critiques, anything to really make you guys be competitive. Because a lot of people realize resumes is a big part of this. You guys can have some of the best experience out there, but if you don't demonstrate it right, you can lose out on a lot of money in your role. Just all that stuff we can help with. As far as it goes, and then market insight, we really know what's going around with all these enterprise level companies. That's what we do. So anything I can do to kind of help you, just keep you what's going on in the market, I would love to, Other than that, do you guys, I'm pretty sure all somewhat familiar with Tek Systems. Hey, Renee.
Hey, what's up?
What up?
Hey.
What's up? Oh.
Do you guys know Renee?
Good to see you. There you go. Just text me, okay? How's
Cool.
lunch? Huh?
Going well.
Huh? Did everybody already eat?
Go ahead. Take it.
No, it's all right.
Oh, I'm still a sandwich.
You what?
I'm for sure, guys.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Oh, this is just you guys, and this is Renee, another recruiter that'll be
Hi, guys.
in this space.
You just let them know I'm taking it over for.
Aldini, yep.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Sweet. All right, guys. Thank you for dinner. See you guys. And then text me, okay, Mike?
Cool. So I guess just a brief background on Tek Systems. You guys know we're the leading IT services provider. We're the biggest. We're all over the country and several offices around the world. So as far as it goes, whatever you guys kind of need, I'm happy to assist in any way.
Cool. So where can we spam you?
Spam me. So this is my email. It should be all lowercase. It's brwillett at teksystems.com. I also put a stack of my cards up front. And I think one thing I would like to say is I never want to pull somebody from a job who's happy. But if you know anybody who's, any of your friends or anybody that's open to new opportunities or does want to know what's going on in the market, or they're unhappy, those are the candidates I really love to work with, because I hate trying to pull somebody from a position if they love it and do one, and if they don't, it's like, so it's not how we find a recruit. That's why we do PowerShells and work off referral for people who are open to new opportunities. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So I guess other than that, I'll let you guys get to it. If there's anything you need, I'll be in the room right over there, just working. So,
Well, thank you.
of course.
Thank you.
And I'll be on my email. You might have to email me for Wi-Fi.
Okay.
But I'll be on it. So I'll be able to. But I am still excited.
Okay. Hey, yeah. So for everybody on the feed, this is presenterless PowerShell. It's kind of new to us. We're hoping to get audience feedback from you guys and find out who can give us the best script for any task. We have a few of you that have volunteered already, right? Who wants to go first? Who wants to show off their scripting? Wow, okay.
No?
Do I have to get eeny, meeny, miny, mo? You want to go first? Okay, what do you want to do? Use a computer?
It's not, it'll go quick.
Okay, cool. Just sit there and go ahead.
All right. You guys have a great time. I'll be right around the corner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And please, before you guys leave, just sign in, because I'm not on the email chain and I have to expense this.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Do our best to sign in here. Who else is gonna present?
Whoever wants to.
Yeah, do you guys have
Some stuff.
Okay, just tell me when and I will share your screen.
I can-
Oh, thanks. All right, tell us something about yourself while you get ready.
Sure. I think this half of the room, you guys look new. Name's Mike Heiler. I work at US Foods. I'm in DevOps role. I automate most of our Windows stuff. I love PowerShell automation. We use Chef, CI/CD pipeline, and all that fun stuff. So what I'm going to share, it's how to generate a self-signed certificate with like a bunch of different subject alternative names. It exports it out and then imports it into the root store. So I've been using it quite a bit lately. Like when we do our testing environments, like we spin up a server that's not domain joined, so you don't have like DNS and PKIs and all that fun stuff to hit. So I kind of wrote this. It's only 10 lines or 15 lines maybe. Anyways, I wrote this script to be able to test HTTPS and certificates are working before you actually get into like real dev or.
Sweet. Cool.
I see. I didn't comment or anything, but I'll just kind of explain it. Obviously, it's written in PowerShell. You could probably convert it to batch or CMD. Why? I don't know how to do that. Anyway, so line 2 here. So I kind of give you an overview, kind of what I do. So line 2, we get. So let me give you a little bit of background. So I wrote this, and at first when I wrote it, it does a friendly name on the certificate. So I was doing like fully qualified host name, and then expires on, and it would print out the date when the certificate expired. But I was leaving it like when all our servers we join to the domain, we always do uppercase, always uppercase. And part of the domain name is uppercase. So like we have a long domain name. Anyways, it got to be to where you couldn't see like the expiration date on the end. So it was like the fully qualified domain name took up like most of the characters. So when you would when you would bind a certificate to IIS, it wouldn't, like you couldn't read the expiration date, or like it was even troublesome in the certificate management console. Anyway, so first step we do here is we get our host name. Can you see, or do you need me to zoom in?
Yeah, zoom in.
Just a bit.
Zoom in?
Yeah.
Here,
Control plus.
Just on second, when you get a chance, check your email. I'll be sent that to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So what we do here is we get our computer name. Didn't comment the script or anything. I was just going to explain it. Sorry. So our computer name, as we see, it's looks like it's uppercase. It's all uppercase. So an improvement. I wouldn't have, when I first wrote the script, I obviously wouldn't like put this in it for no reason. So this was kind of like after the fact, using it, day in, day out. This makes it better. Anyway, so I get the computer name, and I send it to a .2 lower. Computer name is a string. Send it to .2 lower. So here we can see it's all lowercase now. And then I set that to a variable called host name lowercase. Okay. I pulled out any of our company info, so this $domain didn't exist till today. Anyway, so declare domain is teksystems.com. Set that to a variable, and then I get the date. So if you do like, you do .date 2s, there's different types of date formats. It prints out this, so when you write a file, you can't have those the colons in there. So I replace them with dashes. So get the date, replace colons to dashes, so that you can write it out as a file. So it gives us this timestamp, year, month, day, time. So I set that to a variable, set that to $date. And then I get the IP address. This one, I would have liked to do an actual PowerShell commandlet, but I don't know. For some reason, I looked this one up online. There's probably a way to do like a get-netadapter.IP address or something.
It works.
It works. I'd like to convert it to
object,
PowerShell at some point. Anyway, so we get the idea. So kind of explain that one a little bit. So IP config obviously will list out like some basic information on your network adapter. Then you pipe it to find string, which is like a find function in CMD DOS. Selects the first one in the array and then does a split on it, and then I select the last object, or whoever wrote this did. So if we just run that, we should get an IP address.
Mhm.
We did not get an IP address.
You're finding the first variation of an IP in the array.
Dash adapter. Oh, looks like you're gonna have to troubleshoot too. It's a lot easier with the mouse. I think I have a mouse. Let me grab a mouse real quick. Cool. So get .NET adapter. So we don't see what we want in that list, so we'll pipe it to select star. Still
Yeah, you
don't
just
see
passed
what
Mac.
Still don't see what we want in there either. Got Mac and I don't see IP address. For the sake of time, I'll just hard code it here. So I'll do like 192.0.0.100. So we get our IP address. So now we have our host name in lowercase. We have a domain, a date, and an IP address. So now that we have that information, we do the new -self-signed certificate, and we feed it some of that info from above. What we want are some like multiple subject alternative names. So usually when you run this server side and you open, after you're done configuring a server, you open like the web interface, a lot of times it just defaults to localhost, or IP or computer name.
Okay.
You're not like hitting it from a laptop or anything yet. So we add, this would add localhost by default. It's gonna add your IP, your computer name, and then I chose a couple examples. So this would be computer name.main.teksystems.com, computer name.portal.teksystems.com, and then computer name.teksystems.com. Obviously, you can add or remove any as you see fit. A lot of times when you're testing, you want to test it like at its fully qualified name if you can. And then it generates a cert and then imports it to this local into your certificate store. Run that. So then we can see we should see the cert now in Cert Manager. So here we see. Oh, I think it's that one. Wait a minute. Oh,
Let's just keep doing
that's
that.
users. Oh, computer certificates, there we go. So it's gonna be this one. So it's generated 3/5.
Hey, that's today.
6:07 p.m. So when you get a self-sign, it's out of here. So we can see our subject alternative names in here. So we got all these Tek Systems and got our IP address and local host. Okay, so the search there. So this command gets all cert. So now we need to get the thumbprint of that cert.
Okay.
So that we can add our friendly name. So what we do is we get all certs. Right now there's 2, but if you had, like if you were generating these like 2, 3, 4 at a time or something, for whatever reason, it would find the last one you generated. Like it's all certs, sorts them not before descending, and then selects the first one. And then sets it to a variable. And then we get, once we have the new cert in a variable, then we can call its thumbprint. Set that to a variable. And then we can also find out when it expires. Since we have the cert loaded into a variable, you can go like not at, so this isn't really a friendly date that we can use.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do like a two string B. That'll probably give us, okay, so that's like a friendly date. And then we replace forward slashes with dashes so we can, again, save it as files. On that. Next one, it sets the friendly name on the certificate. Right now there is no friendly name. Oops. Come on. Right now there is no friendly name. So we run this line, it'll set the friendly name on the new certificate thumbprint to hostname lowercase dot domain expires on whenever the certificate expires. So we execute that. We do a refresh in here. You can see we now have a friendly name. Peer name dot domain expires on 3/5/2020.
That's real friendly.
So now, next, oh, I know, you get, well, when you got like an IIS, it's really easy to see when it expires and whatnot.
That's cool.
So next up the script does, if we look at our cert path, right now it's red. So even if you bound this to a site in IIS, it would give you, in your local on the server, it would give you a certificate error.
Because it's self-signed.
Because it's self-signed. So next step in the script, what it does is it exports it out to a file. Exports that same certificate out to a file.
Okay.
And then it imports it into the root certificate store. Now, if we look at the cert again, there's no red. We have the full cert path.
Really? Just by doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Where's it chained?
That
Okay.
completes the chain.
Wow.
And that's all it does. We can run it, we can run the whole script as many times as we want, and it'll just keep generating certs for us.
And what do you guys use this for internally?
Yeah. A little bit inside baseball. Explain it more. What do
So
you use it
now you see we have 6 certs there. So we use it for testing where we don't have a PKI that we want to test configuration of servers, but they're not domain joined. They don't have a PKI. We can't access the PKI. So to test it, you would just do that. You issue a new self-signed. It'd go through kind of the same process to where you would bind this certificate to IS. That way you could test, like from a browser, you could test a user hitting the URL. You wouldn't see cert errors, that type of stuff. So
Cool.
the biggest benefit to this is the expiration date. That's really helpful. Really the only other benefit is being able to change these subject alternative names. So you could do whatever, change those to whatever, add them, remove them, whatnot. So pretty simple, but
Yeah, but as the case in a lot of these scripts it saves you a ton of time.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas you have to do it manually, what's the cost or the time saving for doing it manual versus doing it through a script?
this one probably not much. Let's see. So if you want to do, so you'd have to do a request new certificate, then click through the GUI.
The other thing too, though, is how many people are on your team.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
consistent, reproducible outcome.
And just think of the syntax errors that it makes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You may not
That's-
even be able to do them without. It's probably because I'm on a domain. You probably won't let me.
yeah.
Anyway, so you'd have to you'd have to be an administrator, open the management console, request new certificate, type in all that info, look at your subject alternative names, generate it, then you'd have to export it out to file, then import it in, then bind it in IIS. So might save you 10 minutes, but
Yeah, but
The
you do that
repetition-
daily, times monthly, times
Yeah.
yearly.
But DevOps too, yeah.
the repetition and the number of users would offset that. So.
Ah,
Anyways.
Thank you, that was
Any questions?
that was great. Any questions? All right, who's next?
I can do one.
Yeah, come on over. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself while you do it.
Yeah. Mike Sewell. I started in ops and now I just do consulting. So my focus these days is cloud, 100%.
Sweet, I like your shirt, first Fargate.
Yep. It's, I don't do a lot with containers. I do more with functions, but. So I've got a few different options. I can do an example of a PowerShell function in AWS Lambda, or I can just walk through a GPO export script I've got. Anybody have a preference? The first one's really short.
First one.
Okay.
That's awesome, yeah.
All right. So anybody familiar with Lambda at all? Functions as a service?
Yeah,
Azure
yeah.
Functions? Okay. So essentially, rather than having to create a PowerShell script, save it to a server, create a scheduled task, I can just upload my PowerShell core script to Lambda, create a time gate, basically a cron policy,
Okay.
and it'll execute it whenever I want it to.
Sweet.
So from a code perspective, begin with a template. You can see here's a really rough template. all this script does is accepts an input for an IP address. So essentially what this does is I send it an IP address, it updates a security group, which is basically my firewall rule in AWS, and it says allow RDP to that box from that IP address.
Or that REST API?
Yep.
Cool.
So basically this has an API gateway in front of it, and I can walk through the AWS console here in a second. But so high level, all this is I basically created a property on this Lambda input object here at 17 for a passphrase. So basically any attempt to hit my API that doesn't have that passphrase will fail. So pre-shared key, that's all it is.
Cool. You know, change
Ideal-
it, right?
Yeah, ideal world, we put something awesome in there like asynchronous certificate lookup.
Just realizing the ID is being shared.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay.
This is all for tests.
Okay, cool.
So then basically it has a security group ID.
Mhm.
And like I said, that's the firewall group. So that's just a unique identifier for it. The removal, all it's doing is just getting the current permissions on the security group.
Okay.
And then on the revoke, it removes all of those existing permissions. And then on the new, it essentially just takes that IP address from that input object. So a second property from that API that I'm sending.
Mhm.
And then it applies that in a new ACL in the firewall.
Nice.
So roughly what this looks like, if we go over here to AWS and we look at Lambda quick. So what we've got is essentially this Lambda function, and it's as simple as uploading a zip file. AWS provides you essentially a script that creates a zip package, and you just upload that zip package. And from there, you assign different permissions to it, and then it's got an API gateway on the front end. So what this ultimately looks like in use is I've got a small HTTP page here. And if we look, essentially we can call that API gateway and we can post it, the passphrase and the IP address, and then it'll update that. So essentially, one of the things we can look at is right now I've just got that value hard coded. So it'll add this 173 IP address. So if we look currently at this security group, it's not going to be there, sorry. I do, should not, but I can disable this. Yes, I do.
Thanks.
No problem. All right, so if we look, current rules, essentially we've got a couple rules in here. I'll delete both of these out, so there's nothing in here.
Yep.
So no current rules, we can come over here, click a button, hop back over, and that should have worked.
All the demigods are on your side.
Yep. So now if we pull up here, we'll check the log and see what the output looks like. 3.5.18.31 removed, pending. So it basically just didn't like the formatting for the IP address. So I probably have something in there I need to troubleshoot further. But it gives you a different perspective on using something new, is rather than having to, and it's one thing to write a one-liner, it's another thing to put it in a module, and then it's another thing to be able to basically put an API in front of it and then tell people to go hit it.
How long did it take you to learn this?
I think putting this together was about 4 or 5 hours. So most of that was trying to get PowerShell 6 and PowerShell Core working. So that's one of the big hurdles, is just getting the AWS specific stuff to work.
When did they start supporting PowerShell? That must be new.
Oh, it was like, it's like 4 months ago or something. Yeah. Not super recently, but yeah. So, yeah.
Sweet. Thanks.
Yeah.
So you don't. So it doesn't go back to that screen where you, like I said, .NET though. Do you have to?
Yeah. So it's using.
Do you have to like .NET it somehow, or does it take like native PowerShell?
Yeah.
Can
So
you
it's
drop
native PowerShell, but it's .NET Core.
.NET Core?
Yeah. So essentially, this is dependent on .NET Core version 3, which is the same that PowerShell 6 is based on.
Mhm.
So so you have to be careful that your commandlets you're using are valid for PowerShell Core. But the other nice thing too is if you're working directly with like the AWS API, then their commandlets will always work because they ported most of their commands over.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, go ahead and show your other one. Show your other code.
All right. So this one's the long one. Real quick.
Before you get into the next one, what's your primary, because I don't deal with this type of stuff on a regular basis at all. So what is the primary reason why you do this one?
So for this example, this is essentially a demo I like to use with customers. Essentially, rather than, so in the past, we've had VMware consoles or Hyper-V consoles. So rather than having to give somebody access to VMware or Hyper-V, all they really need is RDP into the box. So rather than giving them full control over that and figuring out what permissions they need in that console, I can just give them a button to click that allows them RDP.
Okay.
And it's on demand too. So if I have another job that just nightly clears all these lists, essentially wherever that person's working, they can register. They know they've got 24 hours essentially to be able to RDP to that box from that IP address.
Okay.
The firewall stuff reminds me of another script called Port Knocker.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
it sounds
similar to
very
that,
similar.
yeah. It was sort of similar guise of trying to get that.
Yeah, open up the firewall, then close it when not needed.
Yeah.
Is this code available anywhere?
This one isn't, but I can throw it up on a GitHub.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nothing too special. I just removed the rule that I was using to actually access that box. So. Oh, and it did work. It just took a second.
So this is like configuring your firewall for your.
Yeah, exactly. So all I'm doing there is basically making any IP address can hit this IP address over 338 now. Lazy way. Please don't do it that way. It's a demo environment. This is a domain controller I created 5 minutes ago.
Thank you.
Hey, at least the firewall's turned on.
Yeah.
We're making progress.
Just punched a big hole in it.
So
It's on, but allow Stardust there.
it's hard enough to get people to turn it on and just be like, just log things. Log what you're letting through it at least. So this is a script. It's a little while back now, but essentially at the time I was doing a lot of GPO documentation and there's decent commandlets built into PowerShell.
Mhm.
But essentially I just wanted one command I could hit. It would document, it would give me all the core outputs and give me what I needed. So core function is this get GPO environment. And essentially it accepts no parameters and it's dependent on these two modules. So what I do is I just define this group and then for each one of those modules I test them. So this actually has error checking. This is actually more what you'd want to try and do for proper coding standards. And then if it's able to basically list what that module is and it's available, then it attempts to import it. Otherwise it'll fail out and let you know why it failed.
Cool.
Then just defining some new variables in the begin statement and then processing. ultimately the end goal of this, it delivers a new object of all the GPOs in the environment that I can work through. So basically, rather than just having like the outputs, I basically get one object with activated, inactive GPOs, and I can see all their names and then break them up from there based on the properties of those PS objects.
Cool.
And so,
Is this done at the host level or the domain level?
domain level.
Domain level. Okay.
So as long as you have permissions to read the GPOs and all the settings, and you're able to run these commands, which may have additional clicks than just read only, then you'll be able to pull this information.
Cool.
So as an example,
What level of, like, let's say you ran this and you like server policy 1, what level of the GPO can you see?
so this
So you get,
will-
I'm sure you don't get like the graphical, you would get like a GPO editor. Is it just a file? Like
Yeah,
GPO
so
file?
this doesn't go all the way. So here, I'll show real quick. Okay. So essentially, if we look, just run it, there's the return, and it actually dumps all of the GP results, the HTML documents, into a folder. So that's one option, is you just go to the HTML files. The other option is if we save this as a variable, those properties, although there aren't many, but say I've got 20 inactive GPOs and I want to just see all of them. So I can see a list of just the inactive GPO names.
Cool.
And that way, rather than going in here and having to be like, which GPOs are inactive and actually reading it, then I can just say, these are the 5 GPOs that I need to look at because these are the only active ones. And so that's one option. The other option is, since it is a PS custom object, that if there were additional permissions in there, you could import those HTML files or export as XML and then just import the XML objects into the PS custom objects. It would get pretty
What do you-
nesting, but
So if you do a select star on that one, what is it?
just the custom
Just
object.
do $X select star.
Yeah, it's just those
Just
5
that.
attributes.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so that's, when I was doing a lot of these, that's all I was really looking for is give me an export, give me what's active, give me what's inactive, and then if they've got hundreds of GPOs, I just want a high level count of what I actually need to look at. So,
Cool. Could you expand this to look for user versus machine policies?
should be able to. Basically, it's using the
Yeah, that's
get
what.
GPO command, and I believe one of the switches is to just do machine or user.
Okay, cool.
So then could this be turned around so that you could actually see if group policies on a user are being applied to a user group?
No, but I never got it to that level of detail. So, and that's ideally where it would end up, but you can do RSOP policies from this point. So RSOP's always going to be a little quicker at that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very good, thank you.
Definitely.
Excellent.
When you find inactive ones, do you like recommend they delete them or clean them up or?
Yeah, so like we do full assessments, so it depends on what the content is. So it can be, I mean, like one of the easy ones that everybody out there has made the mistake of once or twice is like putting passwords in the GPO, because a GPO natively has to be read from anybody who's going to apply the GPO. If there's a password in the GPO, somebody can go into Sysvol directly and see what the password is. So there's a lot of things with GPO that get into a full Harrier discussion.
Who's next?
Who's our next victim? I mean, Coda.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. My name's Larry Hernandez,
Hi, Larry.
and this is an admin for a company called RevSpring, but what takes up most of my time is, it's a small company, so I still have to do a lot of desktop. And so, I mean, I just started playing PowerShell, about a year ago. So what I found was that a lot of things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis is just, PowerShell commands. So what I've done is just, I mean, that was probably using like 30 or 40 PowerShell commands to do what I needed to do. And so I organized.
You're not showing.
There you go.
Hey, cool. Excellent. Thank you.
So, I mean, it's nothing complicated like you guys, but it's just time saving. This is just my basic.
Oh, can you make it bigger? Sorry. Oh, thank you.
So,
Nice.
I mean, I just have a basic PowerShell menu that I usually stuff that I do on a day-to-day basis. So I'll. Oops, sorry.
Oh.
And like I said, I just started playing with it, PowerShell about a year ago, so nothing complicated. But I just organized. It's a lot easier when all your PowerShell commands are organized in a menu type format, so you don't have to go looking for them and you don't have to type in. Usually you'll get the syntax wrong and it's whatever. So I mean, basically,
So you got a menu system?
yeah. So I mean, or just looking somebody up real quick. So it asks for the, it's going to go out there and query the Active Directory, and then of course it asks you for the my mouse for a second.
I like how it puts the commander in.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
yeah, so it prompts you for the information, and then it's just going to encapsulate what you type in rather than typing out the whole PowerShell command. So
Yeah.
So here I'm just basically going to be pulling up Al Hernandez, my account, and it's going to show you.
You can pass, instead of like copying that text, you can pass that in.
Yeah, I know, but I said I just been playing with it about a year, so I mean I'm not that advanced. So it looks kind of funky right now.
If you need help, man, let me know.
All right.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, there's a couple things I need help with, but that's one of the things. What really causes a lot of times looking up, locked users, and so I have another menu type where I can look up all my users that are passing bad passwords. And this is what was happening before is that I'd get a call and somebody said I'm locked up. So, I mean, this is almost on a daily basis where I was getting calls from users, why am I locked up? So here it's showing me who is currently passing bad passwords. And these are all PowerShell commands that are encapsulated by what I type in, and like I said, I'm not really that advanced, so I'm gonna.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
So anyhow,
That's pretty cool.
so these are the people that are, and of course you can see there's some pen testers in here, people doing testing, but so currently right now, there's nobody locked out. And just to confirm that, if I wanted to find this person and find out their OU, so that gives me some information where that works. Because it's a small company, but we've acquired, a bigger company acquired us, and now we're getting acquired like 10 different companies. So we're scattered all over the place. So anyhow, if I wanted to do some more research and find out who's actually locked right now, there's nobody locked. And if I wanted to do research on a person, because what happens is that, say, for instance, and this is just, like I said, this is basically, oops. So here on this, again, it's just telling me that it's not locked out, password was last set, and other information, and that would basically just pull this command and this query the domain controller and look for the instance of the user's name and the instance of locked. And that would usually show me where they're locked out at. And so I can actually, so here is an example of output from that command. It shows it's locked out.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to give me the where the computer name is locked out. And then there's also another function. If I wanted to force that person off that particular, and this is using Quinsta to force them off that session. And another thing was we're having problems with is people with expired passwords. So I would occasionally, I'd actually give this to the help desk and they have them run this occasionally, because this is something that happens quite often, is that, well, most of these people are new users, so that's okay. But there's these other PowerShell commands that I routinely will go through and run just to show me.
So those just examples underneath?
Yeah, these are, well, this is going to tell me display all production users, because we have two different types of users. We have production users, which are basically an hourly worker, and we would go through them like weekly.
Yeah.
And so that's really what was the motivation for this, is that I was going through and creating users and separating users. I mean, almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
These are, hourly workers that, getting paid $10 an hour. And, they don't stick around like.
Yeah.
And one time I had a hire one day and he only lasted a couple hours, so anyhow, I mean, I got tired of doing creating and separating. So anyhow, that's the locked users.
Nice.
And so, and then I also have computer info where so this is basically, I'm getting information from a computer, like for instance, I mean, if somebody calls you for a desktop issue, I mean, obviously they're gonna, you can ask them what the computer name, and you want to walk them through the process of what, their computer name. So what I've done is in the Active Directory description field, I put their name. Whenever I create a new user, I put the name so that I can just use a PowerShell command to pull up their computer name. That's the PowerShell command, and so now I've identified their computer name.
That's cool.
That is actually very cool.
And saves a lot of time,
Yeah.
because now I don't have to walk them through and get that information, and now I can start. As soon as they call in the phone, I can start running other commands. Like I'll do number 4 and get a performance check on their computer, because I know their computer name now. I'll just plug that in, and this is going to do just the random monitoring of all the performance stuff. Here I know I'm using old commands. These are type-perf commands, but it still gives me the information that I need. That is pretty helpful.
Yeah, use what you got, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So here it's showing me that computer has 13% free, or the swap space. I'm sorry. Memory utilization on that computer is 26%. This is your basic, performance kind of stuff.
First step of troubleshooting, right?
Yeah, and so, I mean, usually it's always related to when the last time they rebooted, so that's why I do that. The most time-saving thing is, what I found is that for employee separations, I wrote a script to do, the problem was that the people were doing, you have 20 admins that are, doing it all differently, and so some put the date in there, some don't put any kind of comments, it's a disabled account. You don't know who disabled it, so what I've done is created a script for employee separations. Hopefully I've put it back to normal so that it works. So here is an example, and the guy, you might be able to show me something on Azure. Would you say we're Azure?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a couple of questions for Azure. But the first thing is they're going to do, you need to separate a person's AD account and then also their old 365 account. So here it's asking for the person's name to identify the SAM account name. And this is the part where I need to help with. I mean, so I wrote this a couple of years ago, and so I know that there's probably more up-to-date libraries for this process, but I have to do it twice because some of the commands don't work with the first set of credentials. So
You can pre-fill the username field too.
yeah, I know
That helps
that.
me a lot.
That's what I need help in. Like I said, I just been playing with it for about a year.
You're doing pretty good for a year.
Yeah, no, very good for you.
So here it's disabling the AD account.
Cool.
Hold on a second. This is the second set of credentials. Okay, so you see that before it was enabled, now it's disabled.
Cool.
It removes all the AD or group accounts, and then it creates a log. So you can see that after the move, that person is now disabled. And then I put another part here, just so if somebody else can verify that the work that I've done is now. So now we're getting into the old 365 part. It's asking for a delegate, and I'm going to assign myself as a delegate. So here it tells you, employee being separated is test Larry Hernandez. The delegate is myself, Larry Hernandez. So it's assigned the delegate in 0365. So now it's converting the user's mailbox to a shared mailbox. And so you can see that it usually takes about 15 seconds to do that. And this is another thing that I can probably, like I said, pull in, but my skills aren't there yet. So now you can see that it's now a shared mailbox. And now it's removing the old 365 license. And you can see that it's now completed that.
Where the license file gets saved, anywhere in particular?
What's that?
The logs, sorry. Where you save the
Oh,
logs.
it's just some of the main controller. So I actually save them to, this directory will be, replicated to all.
Yes,
controllers.
yes.
So I've actually gotten the other users, so there's like probably 10 users at each location here. So that's about 30 people that use this script.
Wow.
And it, like I said before, you can see, if you look at our separated or disabled users, you can see, I mean, everybody, there's a random amount of people that do it differently, you know?
Yes.
And so you can see that ever since I created the script, it's now starting to come into more sync with everybody.
Cool. So you keep the AD accounts in there up until the user comes back, or?
No, these are probably, and like I said, we're a small company, so we don't have a lot of tools that a lot of large companies have. That policy has not been really defined yet, so.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, that's it in a nutshell.
How far have you taken the management of users and PCs in the PowerShell? So for example, if you have are you able to use PowerShell to reconfigure a PC, for example? You need to redo the OS or put in other applications on there. Are you using PowerShell for that? Or
No, that's all manual right now, so.
You have to go through the OSD part yet.
Yeah. So, and another thing so like I said, these are just basic PowerShell commands. I mean, the one that's I use a lot too is the authentication tester. I mean, so that's just basically going to test your credentials, because what happens a lot of times is I reset somebody's password. Nothing more embarrassing than giving them a password and it doesn't work, you know.
Yes.
So. So, I mean, that's just a basic, you know, usually when I change somebody's password, I'll run this real quick before I give them the password. So
Nice.
that's it in a nutshell.
So are you in your environment then, are you guys controlling the passwords, or is this a temporary password for the user to change later on?
Yeah, so, yeah. A lot of the trouble is with these production users, they're lower level people, you know, and so they'll randomly forget the password, not log in for a long time. And so I got to reset the password, a random password. And it's usually, that's the policy now, is that we got to use a random password generator, and it's some, you know, funky name or whatever. And so I just use this just to test the password before I give it to them, you know.
And then then do they have to reset their password?
Yeah, so it of course, you're going to require that the, you know, first login.
Right.
Okay. So it looked like these were like subscripts or something. Like, how is it one giant script, or how do you load a module, or how? Like,
Yeah. So
How are you storing it?
is it multiple scripts?
it's multiple scripts. So
Function, is it all like functions, or?
no, it's all. So here's my main script here, and it's just a pointer to this location.
Okay.
See, the problem, and then the problem too, is that because I didn't want to have to be, when I make a modification, to have to modify it on every location. So I had to find out some way to have a central storage area, and
It's this folder.
yeah.
Cool. If you want to explore other options, try DFS, dynamic file system.
Okay.
Just you have to enable it on your DCs, but basically, actually may not work.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
basic, but you know, it saves a lot of time, you know.
You can do.
Yeah. Thank you. Very cool.
You can probably also do like a daily email or something, or like specifically talking about the locked accounts.
Yeah.
You could probably do like a nightly or every 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
Like generate all the locked accounts, and you could probably email the manager on it too. That way you wouldn't have to do anything. Just
Yeah, and it's,
let it drop
like I
down.
said, we don't have a lot of the tools, so it's just me being the advocate for all this stuff, and it's like, I gotta get it to work first and then be able to.
Then improve.
Yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention is that the script also sends out an email, once you complete it, it sends out an email to the delegate
Oh, nice.
saying you are now a delegate of that separated invoice mailbox, so.
Very cool.
Oh. Thank you.
I don't have a power adapter for this, but I think this is a Samsung. I got a Samsung, so I may be able to.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to my, it's kind of convoluted solution right here. This is a powerless, but it's.
Or do you need
I just need a power my adapter.
Is that USB-C? Yes, it's a, yeah, I got, not a USB-C, it's a mini connection. I will get you some power.
I know what you're talking about though with the production users. Yeah, I had to deal with that so much. Like,
Yeah.
you almost have to make the password like 1 4 character word.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll still like, wait, I don't know what that was. Still don't remember.
You have a car or something?
Okay, don't make
You have a car?
Yeah. No. Just come here every month. I try to do it. And give you my contact info if you want.
Okay.
All right.
Hey,
Yeah, just call me.
Right, power. It's just a knockoff. It says so. It doesn't give
Sorry,
that much power.
done, but if I got it, usually I can get back to something in a week.
Turn off its own. It's an
when I was
old
talking about
tablet.
Azure stuff, does that ring a bell to you for?
Yeah, so
Next
when
one.
you get them from for
So this is what
365,
So this is what I'm using for.
it's when you do the connect to
Yeah.
MS Online, right?
Yeah.
So usually what you want to do there is you create a, if you go into Azure AD, you can create an application identity rather than a user password, and then you can just put that into. So
Not working.
Yeah, it may not be. Do you have the?
Yeah, an actual power adapter, yeah.
Yeah, so here's.
If I did, I'm pretty sure my kids have found it. Wait, here it is.
Connect and
So, yeah, it's
This is getting shorter and shorter, isn't it?
You're going directly into Teams, so that's probably.
All right, how's that? Is that getting power now? Maybe,
This is a new outlet, and they should do, yeah, so MS Graph Access Token. So basically, all of their APIs are moving over to Microsoft Graph. And so,
I can just probably share it.
so
This
basically,
TV.
go for it. I'll figure out how to get it up there.
what you can do is, when you go into Azure Active Directory,
Uh-huh.
you can create an application user. And that application user, you can get access to Microsoft Graph. And then once that has access, you can go directly.
Is this the remote
to Graph APIs rather than using that. And that way, essentially.
Did Tom join it? End up joining it or no?
Yeah, I guess not. You must be busy.
That private key is your authentication token, so there's no username.
I know he had a few things to fix up and clear up.
The difficulty there though is if you have multiple users.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, an alternative to those, you have a method set up in your environment at all?
What's that?
Multi-factor authentication.
I'm not sure.
Azure Authenticator?
Yeah.
Do you use that?
Not sure.
No worries. So like when I log into like an admin account, it pushes a notification and I have to hit accept. So what you can do is
No, Karen.
so instead of doing username and password, what you can do is you can do MFA as the first factor prompt.
So MFA?
Yeah, so MFA, multi-factor authentication. You have to be AZPosh, I think, to enable it, licensing. But basically, what you could do is when you connect your first authentication prompt over your MFA, it'll just push to your phone and say approve, denied. You hit approve, and you can skip the password. So that's another option too.
Okay, that's.
It's really like focusing on you.
PowerShell. So that's one option. Using MFA as the first factor.
The screen
The other
actually
option
just automatically try to connect to it.
using PowerShell with the Microsoft Graph API.
Microsoft. Right. API.
And then what you can do is you can create an Azure app.
Ooh, another device. Could that be any device?
Create a new
Could I
user account, and it's just for the app.
present myself as a source?
That's go forward the way Microsoft's have you do it, and then essentially you'll get that password,
Ah,
with
yes.
the information, you'll save that into your script directly, and then that's its authentication token and the API.
Okay.
That's a little bit more in depth, but
There it goes.
it's still pretty meaningful.
What did the MFA take stand for? Multi-factor authentication?
And so it's commonly, like, if you, like, one of the nice things you can do with it too is, so like, you do anything with Intune.
We're starting to get that.
So like, if I enroll my device, I can enroll it in an Intune policy and push a certificate to my device. And then my device now, anytime it has to log into Exchange, I just use like a certificate I push to it. So my user doesn't even have to type in a username and password.
Really?
For email, Wi-Fi,
Oh, okay.
you know, do it to a laptop too.
Okay.
So like if you don't want to have to make a user use a username and password every time, that's an option. It's using cert-based authentication or just MFA as first factor.
Is that the only company something else?
No, we're MSP and bar out of Chicago.
Okay.
I'm just a local resource.
Pretty mirror, right?
And try to reconnect.
Could you use my computer in any way?
Yeah, I can probably run on to a secret session.
So just a browser window?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I just copy stuff out of there
Yeah, just look at that screen for now.
when I do it.
Yeah.
Not the job.
Damn, gaming keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna switch to the TV so you can probably see the credentials.
Should be blurred out a bit.
Yeah. Oh, wait, you can't.
Yeah. It should be all barred out anyway.
Okay.
What?
You're my star. You're completely filling the frame.
Jumping away, man.
Before you start presenting, that's going to switch it over so you can see this. Before you just quickly switch this over to screen share. Okay, cool. Just move it back there and go for it.
Hopefully you see my that works.
All right, introduce yourself quickly, sorry.
Okay. My name's Javier Gonzalez. I work at First American Title Insurance Company. I mainly work in the department we call virtual desktop services that specializes just mainly in Citrix products. So all of our remote access for anybody that's within my company that needs to get connected to the resources at home or even remotely. We have a lot of sales. Mobile folks, they'll use our Citrix access to get connected to their resources. I mainly got into PowerShell. Citrix's versions of their module to manage their system, and then it kind of just started to grow more from there. Actually, move it.
Yeah, you have to move. What's the command key structure for maximize? It's Alt.
If you do Windows,
Left
key and
arrow.
left arrow.
Thank you. Thank you. I knew somebody would remember that. What do you want? Just
Let's see if that catches it. Seems to be
resolution. You do think about that stupid camera.
okay. So with this script is kind of, let me see if I can actually minimize it. I was doing a lot of testing with scripts and services that Citrix was providing with our service level agreement, and I ended up pretty much locking out my account, and I had no idea where it was coming from. I managed probably I want to say about 3,500 machines that I log into with the admin account, do the work, and then try to remember to log out. But a lot of times it just ends up continuously running, and probably I want to say last November, just seemed like, I guess, that our passwords have an expiration date from Active Directory. My password expired, and I couldn't even work because it was locking out every few minutes. And I don't have full domain permissions to go onto the controller and see where the lockout was coming from. And so trying to figure out what server I was logged into that was causing the issue turned it to be a lot more work. So I ended up spending more time trying to just get something that I can help continue to work at least. So I found out that there was a policy set by our domain admins that will lock the account after 4 counts. So in Active Directory, one of your attributes says that it counts the bad passwords every time you and after 4 password, then it'll lock you out. So I found out that if I could figure out what domain controller was at least reporting it, if I were to log on to another server successfully, it would reset my bad passwords. So it gave me a little bit extra time. So what I did is I created this script that basically just runs through a loop, checks that bad password, and then when it hits a certain number, it will attempt to connection to a server that I'm providing and give me a little bit extra time. And it also sends me an email and continues to run the script pretty much throughout the day, so I don't have to worry about my account getting locked out. I used a function called get ADSI object, and that allows me to use query Active Directory without having to install the module for Active Directory. So I can run this on any machine that I log onto with my laptop at work. When this is a remote machine I have, I can just log on to that, put the script on here, just let it go, and it's just going to keep checking to see that my dash A account or my admin account is locked out. And it's really all it does. It's kind of like a combination of a lot of functions. Some of these I'm not really utilizing. I wanted to, so I put them in there. But what it does is, I'll see if I can minimize this. Let's scroll up here. So I'm just hard coding my account, the RDP server that I'm going to want to log into when it does find out that bad passwords were counted, and then attempt to RDP successfully with the good password, and then the domain controllers that we have also the what are they called? Not the PDCs that actually replicate everything can also lock me out as well. So whatever that particular domain controller is, I'm going to put that in there. And then the first part of this script is putting a .cred file for a hash in my own profile. So when I run it on this particular machine, it's going to check to see if I have that hash.cred file from the password. And if it does, it's going to check the date on that last file. I want it to be refreshed every week. So I'm just going to keep checking, and after a week, it's going to delete it and then prompt me to re-enter my credentials. So if I do a
Is there a reason you need, like, how are you logging into these, I guess?
I'm using another function that basically creates an RDP connection. So just I'll show you.
Do you have to do that? Have you tried like invoke command? You should be able to like just send a command over.
I wanted to actually authenticate with on that server with the server that I know is using the same domain controller. Because I don't know our servers that I'm using. When I put an RDP server in, those are virtual machines that I manage that I know I can log into. I can't log into every server in the company. So I know that I can log on to that and then get the domain controller environment variable, so that way I know what to put in there, and then just use that server throughout the day, rather than trying to figure out, because sometimes I won't hit that same exact domain controller if that VM just got rebooted.
You'd have to look at the invoke command, but you might be able to specify a domain controller to run it against. I don't know.
Yeah, I did want to do a lot more cleanup with this script. This was just kind of something I just threw together because I wanted to just be able to not have to, get going and working, and then next thing you know, my account's locked out. So that hash, that cred is there. Maybe I should remove it so that way when I run the script, it's just gonna prompt me for the logon. And I do 2 logons for this particular cred file. I do a normal account and a -A account, one with the admin rights and one without. So that way, if I wanted to utilize that, really I just got to create a hash dot and then whatever I named it, that hash. So the names I'm just using an admin and a remote user. So if I need to do credentials, I'll put my credential hash dot admin, and then that will enter my admin account or hash dot remote user. So if I just run this, should prompt, and it's asking for the dash account. Could be a service account as well, which I do want to get that eventually. We just started to get permissions to do that now. And a normal account, which is just my regular account that I just use on my own machine. But if I wanted to test something, I can.
You can pre-fill that username field too.
Yeah,
but you can use like whatever user is executing this script.
Yeah, I have to sometimes run these script as an administrator as well, so it may not be those accounts either.
It will.
Or no, I mean like to log onto those.
Yeah, you just erase what is pre-filled, so it's just filling up the first username.
Yeah, so now that that account's in there, it kind of creates created a hash table just for those objects on my account. If I wanted to, just be able to read them. And so that's what it's displaying. When the last time it had a bad password. And that was more for me trying to figure out if I can look at a particular server while I'm on it and try to, go through and see if anything was executing at the same time, just to help me figure that out. If after it hits that 4 mark, right now it's looping through every 15 seconds, just in case that whatever service or something that was just started to lock out my account continuously, at least it would attempt to, I guess, delay that. So I'll go ahead and try to lock my account out. Usually I think it's after 2 lockouts. Then I'll go ahead and just close this. And on the next check on that loop, it should detect that it had at least 2 accounts in it and try to delay by logging me into another server. And then that should reset my bad password back to 0. Give me a little bit more time to, work at it. The only thing is I got to figure out a way to now log me out of this particular server, because it will, I don't remember to log out, it will just make a reconnection to that existing session. But
Oh, you're logging in as the same user? Yeah, same user.
yeah, that same account that it found the bad password counts.
And you're only using this computer
Yeah,
for that purpose?
whatever I'm on, the computer that I'm on.
Yeah.
So that's why I was explaining one of the functions as I query Active Directory using a function that doesn't require me downloading and installing Active Directory.
Yeah.
The full.
Well, I was thinking the machine you're logging into reset your password counts. Maybe you could have keyboard and mouse movement in 5 seconds. Log back.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was thinking of also executing some type of
Remote PowerShell?
yeah, so that way it can also create that task remotely.
Plus, you use the invoke command. You don't even have to log in. It just executes.
Doesn't always work. Invoke means you need PowerShell remoting available, and a lot of domain controllers actually PPO that out as an option.
What's funny is that it's not turned off on the main controllers, but it's turned off for most desktops.
Yeah. Sucks.
Yeah, because so I know that RDP works. So the function is actually disconnect NSTSC. And so that, and then the loop that it's doing right now is the wait until. So running a within the loop that I initially created for the bad password count, the preventative loop. This is also at the very end of that loop. Initially started off as just counting up to a loop of 100. So I figured, I thought I was going to fix it by then, but then I ended up still, doing a lot more testing and stuff, and just totally spacing on where I was logged on and what I set up, and actually, just executed itself. So I just instead put that wait until at the very end of this loop, so that it's always going to keep running until I manually shut it off.
So is there a reason why you have to stay on these machines, or is it just you forgot? And
yeah, well, also too is that initially we had a way to figure out what machine the domain controller found.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we started to go into Active Azure and move our Active Directory in there as a hybrid, and it stopped doing that. And so now I don't have the ability to know if it's using an Active Directory on-prem or in Azure, because it no longer gives me that
information.
Yeah, so, and we don't have permissions to query any of the main controllers. So this is the only other way I can figure out. It actually is a lot better now. I don't run the script anymore as much as I used to when I was having the issue and locking out, at random times. I figured out what it was. It was actually Citrix services running on my behalf. So
Okay.
I was able to stop those services on those dead machines as well. But sometimes if I want to just know that I don't want to get interrupted by anything, I'll just create this, enter in any account really.
Cool.
So that's pretty much all that does.
It's a big script.
You should. I know.
Yeah, because I was just throwing a bunch of stuff at it.
Yeah.
You should be able to get like minimal AD info from like what.
Just getting my the last the account name, the last passwords, last lockout time, bad password time, last logon. Those attributes, and that's all it's getting. And it's just taking that, and I'm actually not reusing it. I'm pasting it multiple times throughout the script instead of setting it up, and because what I was doing is I was just copying and pasting stuff because I didn't really have a lot of time to test it because once an account did get locked out, I had to go through unlock process, and that took more time. So it's definitely not a clean, pretty little script. I definitely want to get it cleaned up and add parameters and get it formatted the proper way. But it was just something that I just needed to get me to continue to work.
You guys been around for 419 years. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. 300s. Yeah, there's always
1600.
But yeah, that's pretty much all it does. And then it does send me some emails when it does complete the loop, so I know that at least I got locked out if I'm not watching it. So that's pretty much.
Because I'm not as familiar with your type of environment, what I don't understand is why is it that you're jumping around so many different machines at so many different times that it's easy to lose track of where you need to log in and log off of?
We use Citrix has a technology called provisioning imaging. So that allows us to take one gold image and spread it through several servers.
Okay.
A lot of times I'll use one of those servers just to gather information off of, and that server may not be rebooted all the time. If it is rebooted, it's going to get another gold copy of that image. I can't really save stuff on that machine, but at the same time, I do want to monitor it, and a lot of times I'll end up just setting up a simple scheduled task on it and let it run that information back to me instead of querying it from the outside.
Okay.
Could it be possible to have you, whenever you log on to a machine, go and write to the centrally located location and have your script go and parse through that and check if you're still logged into those machines?
Yeah, I do have some other scripts that I was able to figure out where I was logged in at.
Yeah.
However, those were just showing me my actual logon session. It didn't show me. I had to also create a script that I can actually look at all the task schedulers that I created. Then I also had to look at any of the services that may be running underneath my account.
Yeah, you need a service account.
So that's why this script exists. Now we just barely started to utilize service accounts. We couldn't really utilize service accounts back then because they wanted to have the password basically reset itself, and the way that some of our services run from the Citrix point of view, they want an account on it, so we had to put a account that couldn't get the password reset. So,
ever heard of something called Lapse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wondering if that could help. I don't know.
We do have that in our environment as well.
A lot of the commandlets have computer name option on them too. So like for service or scheduled tasks, you just do like get service - computer name - creds. It should return all services or all scheduled tasks.
One of the issues though is that I don't have we don't really keep the same machine name, because if we can provision our images, the VMs can be spun up with any name. So I don't know what name I would be using. And a lot of times
get -AD computer object. Like
You
if
can't
they're
query
all in a specific OU, you just query that OU, get all the names.
or
Do a for each loop on them. Do a get -service for each.
oh yeah, for
Do it that way.
the manager servers. But I'm kind of not doing the service accounts running anymore, so I don't really have.
You should, as long as you can log in. If you have the creds, that's all you need. You don't need a service account.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, that's all. I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, quick housekeeping stuff. Our speaker for next month is Jason Yoda.
Yes.
He is
He's
awesome.
awesome.
You're gonna like him. What you've done, he's gone and done it by 11. We actually have YouTube videos of him before where he's actually made scripts very similar to yours and has taken care of credential passing on. And what he does is he, in his scripts, he accounts for how much time he's saving by running that script every time. So it runs to a central database that says the script was run 20 times. It saved 200 minutes of use of expendable
That'd
money.
be awesome, because, yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to see that, that is actually on our YouTube channel. It's one of our first speakers that we have. If not AZPosh, it's probably my personal account. I'll have to double check. But basically, Jason Yoda is he's very impressive at his scripting. He works for the military, and he basically does consulting across the world right now for PowerShell programming. He's an MVP, and he's the man. And if you get him on Twitter, he's always happy to answer any questions you have.
You say that's on Azure.
AZPosh. If you do a YouTube search for AZPosh, you should find us. We look like a cactus.
Yeah.
With a PowerShell
Search for Jason Yoder too.
Well, yeah, well, Jason Yoda. If you just do a search for Jason Yoda, you might find better material out there. Yeah. Yeah.
He's good at speaking.
All right.
Yes, and we've had him a couple times at PowerShell Saturday, and he's always one of the best talkers there.
Cool. All right.
He teaches classes. You can actually sign up and do like a class with him. Too.
All right. Wait. We have to finish this. We found a swag to the best script presented. Who are we presenting to? All right, we actually have three prizes worth of stuff, so guys, don't go home empty. All right, who are we thinking? Definitely Larry.
Yeah.
Definitely Larry. All right, Larry, well done, Larry. Thank you. All right, who's next? Come on, vote. You can't do that.
I don't
And then you get yours.
What is this?
It's a bag of some sort. I actually didn't know. He kind of just pulled it out of a cardboard. Can you have a Tek Systems sippy cup?
I can keep that at home, sure.
It's very stylish, and I think you can cool it in the freezer.
There we go.
Yeah. You gotta have that sippy cup.
Yep.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We had more submissions of scripts. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so I can't put it on. Maybe next time. Okay. All right, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
Do you know what the topic is next month for Yoder?
I just noticed Jason Yoda. I don't care. He's awesome. If he brings something up, it's going to be something that we could use in operations. So, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Anything for you?
Thank you.
I'll just pack up there.